Welcome to Lit with Ernest, where we dive into the world of literature and explore its significance in our lives. Today, we're going to discuss Franklin D. Roosevelt's iconic speech, Four Freedoms. Delivered on January 6, 1941, this speech is a masterpiece of rhetorical craftsmanship that has had a lasting impact on American history and beyond. To understand the context of the Four Freedoms speech, let's take a step back to the early 1940s. The world was in turmoil, with World War II raging across Europe and Asia. In the United States, there was a growing sense of isolationism, with many Americans opposed to getting involved in the conflict. Roosevelt, however, recognized the threat that Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan posed to democracy and freedom, and he knew that America had to take a stand. In his speech, Roosevelt outlined four fundamental human rights that should be universally protected: freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. These freedoms, he argued, were essential to the survival of democracy and the well-being of humanity. Let's break down each of these freedoms and explore their significance in the context of the speech. Freedom of speech, for example, is a cornerstone of democratic societies. It allows individuals to express their opinions, critique those in power, and participate in the public sphere. Roosevelt recognized that this freedom was under threat from totalitarian regimes like Nazi Germany, which sought to suppress dissent and control the narrative. In contrast, the United States has a long tradition of protecting free speech, from the First Amendment to the Constitution to the landmark Supreme Court case of New York Times Company v. Sullivan. Freedom of worship is another essential human right that Roosevelt emphasized. This freedom allows individuals to practice their faith without fear of persecution or reprisal. In the context of World War II, this freedom was particularly significant, as many Jews and other minority groups were facing brutal persecution at the hands of the Nazis. Roosevelt's commitment to protecting this freedom reflected his administration's efforts to provide a safe haven for refugees fleeing Nazi-occupied Europe. Freedom from want is often seen as an economic freedom, but it's also closely tied to issues of social justice and human dignity. Roosevelt argued that all people should have access to basic necessities like food, shelter, and healthcare. This vision of economic security was central to his New Deal policies, which aimed to alleviate the suffering of those affected by the Great Depression. Finally, freedom from fear is a fundamental human right that's often overlooked in discussions of politics and economics. Roosevelt recognized that fear can be a powerful tool for controlling people, whether it's the fear of violence, the fear of persecution, or the fear of poverty. By advocating for freedom from fear, he was calling for a world where individuals could live without being intimidated or coerced by those in power. One of the key literary devices that Roosevelt used in his speech is the technique of repetition. He repeats the phrase, "We look forward to a world," 4 times, each time emphasizing one of the 4 freedoms. This repetition creates a sense of rhythm and emphasizes the importance of these freedoms. It also helps to build a sense of momentum and urgency, underscoring the need for collective action to protect these rights. Roosevelt's speech was also notable for its use of metaphor and imagery. When he talks about freedom from want, for example, he describes it as a world where there is work, profitable work, for all. This image of a world with full employment and economic security is powerful because it speaks to people's basic aspirations for a better life. In terms of literary tradition, the Four Freedoms speech draws on a long history of American oratory. From Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address to Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech, Roosevelt's use of repetition, metaphor, and imagery reflects his awareness of this tradition and his desire to contribute to it. The impact of the Four Freedoms speech can be seen in many areas of American life, from politics to culture. The speech influenced the United Nations Charter, which enshrines these freedoms as fundamental human rights. It also inspired the civil rights movement, with leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. drawing on Roosevelt's vision of a world where all people are treated with dignity and respect. In conclusion, the For Freedom speech is a landmark work of American literature that continues to inspire us today. Its themes of freedom, democracy, and human dignity are timeless, and its literary craftsmanship is still studied by scholars and rhetoric enthusiasts around the world. As we reflect on the significance of this speech, let's remember Roosevelt's call to action. We look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential human rights. Let us continue to strive for a world where these freedoms are protected and promoted, not just for Americans but for all people everywhere. This is Ernest, and I look forward to exploring more great works of literature with you in the future. Like this episode, if it hit true. Share it, if you respect honest talk about books. Subscribe because we'll do this again. This is Ernest, signing off.